everyone, it's Haley, and today is Bookmas Day 31. It is the final day of Bookmas. Oh my gosh, I can't believe we actually got here, and I actually did it because I'm not gonna lie, it was a little bit touch and go for a while, but I hope you guys have enjoyed this and it has helped you out, and let's just roll the intro because I just kept talking. So as I was saying, I really hope that these 31 days have helped distract you from what might be different this holiday season, what has been bothering you. That is honestly why I have done this, because these holidays have been super different than usual. A lot of my favorite parts of the holidays have been taken away, unfortunately, but at least we have FaceTime and things like that, thankfully. But to finish off Bookmas, in case you missed it yesterday, I talked about all the books that I pre-ordered, and that took me forever. So I will link that down below, as well as the entire Bookmas playlist, so you can watch all 31 videos again if you would like. But today I'm going to be going over some reading resolutions and my TBR. Now, my TBR that I have here is mostly focused on books that I have had for so long and haven't gotten the chance to read yet, and I really want to try and prioritize this year. Now, it's kind of funny because my 2020 TBR, I didn't read a single book from that video, and I'm so sad about that, but I'm hoping this year it'll be better. Now, I don't have any 2020 releases on here because I've talked about those a lot. We all know that I want to read those. These are just focused on the books that I have had for a very long time, like a couple years or more now, and just want to try and prioritize and get off of my TBR. But to start out, I'm going to talk about some of my resolutions. So my reading goal is going to be the same as this past year, which is to read 100 books. Now, as per usual, it's just a personal goal. Like, I track it on Goodreads because Goodreads I just use as a tool. It's very helpful with filming and with planning videos and stuff and just keeping track of everything, to be honest. So that's why I use Goodreads. It's just for me. Like, you guys can obviously see it, but it's mostly just a personal thing for me. So that's exactly what my Goodreads goal is. It's something to encourage me to read more, to try and prioritize reading instead of like mindless scrolling or whatever. So that's honestly why I do it. That's the only reason, because I know I can read 100 books, but I also know that I might not prioritize it if I don't have a goal in mind. And I like goal setting. So 100 books actually works out to like about 2 books per week, which isn't that bad. Now, the way I figure it is one of them I physically read, one of them is an audiobook, and then I'm good to go. I can easily get 2 books a week. Now, some weeks I might read more than others, you know, it kind of just depends, but I still think that 100 is definitely something that is reachable. However, if I do find that it's too much pressure for me, I'm putting too much pressure on myself, not enjoying myself anymore, then I will lower that goal, because it's always just meant to be like a fun personal challenge for me. So if it's not fun anymore, then that will be changed. Another goal that I would like to set out for myself, which is kind of attainable, but I don't think for every day, but I want to try for most days to read 100 pages a day. That equals for me about like 1 to 2 hours of reading depending on the book. And there's a lot of times where I'll read a book and I get through 100 pages like that and I don't even realize it, which is awesome. Or I'll read 50 pages of one book, listen to 50 pages of an audiobook. There's my 100 pages done. So actually in the fall, I started this year writing read on my to-do list every day, because I found I was always trying to do stuff that was on my to-do list. So when I didn't have reading on there, I would rather do something that I could check off of my to-do list. So adding reading to it was very helpful. So then eventually I realized I was actually reading quite a bit, and I was reading quite a few pages. So I was like, well, I'll set a numbers goal for myself as well. So I would read 50 to 100 pages. And I found that really helpful. I did manage for a good stretch there of time before things got busy to read 50 to 100 pages, which was awesome. Now, last year I talked about wanting to do my Tbr challenges again, and I think I might do them, but I'm not entirely sure. So what they are is it's just like a monthly Tbr challenge. One of them was to read a backlisted book, so a book that I had had for a very long time. One was to read a new recent release. One was to read an arc. And then what was the other one? Was that, oh, a sequel was the other one. So So I think that I could try and do that, but I'm also not going to put too much pressure on myself to accomplish that. There was also another one to try and read a big book, so a book that was like more than 400 pages. And that one is especially hard for me because I always put off big books. I'm just so intimidated by them because I am focused on like trying to read as much as I can. So I always have new titles to share with you guys. So when I'm reading a big book, that eats such a big chunk of time that I can't help it. I'm always like, I could have read like 3 books in the time it took me to read this one. So that's why it always takes me so long to pick up a big book. And also for sequels, I'm like, one, I'm afraid I'll be disappointed by a sequel. But the other thing is because I'm like, I would rather read about like a new world and have something new to share with you. So it's always really sad because there are some sequels that I really want to get to. But as you'll see in my TBR, there are a lot that I still need to read that I haven't gotten to. So I think having the goal of reading a sequel, reading a big book, being able to combine those two, so like if I do a sequel, a big book, and a backlisted book all in one, that's totally fine. I'm still able to have the freedom to pick whatever I want for my TBR, but also make sure that I'm checking off those kind of challenges that I set for myself at the beginning of the year. So that being said, with the numbers, like the page number goal, it also will kind of help me in the not wanting to read big books department. I think that having that goal, I'll be like, if I read 100 books a day, that would be amazing. If I read 100 pages a day, then for like a 600 page book, I'll get through it in 6 days, which isn't the worst. It's not the best, but it's not the worst. I usually like to switch books. I try for every 2 to 3 days, but it doesn't always work out that way. Like life happens. But oh, also I scratch my neck, so if it's red, that's why. I constantly scratch my neck sometimes in videos, and you guys always think it's hickeys, but like I promise that it's not. It's so funny because like they'll fade throughout the video, but people don't watch far enough, so they just think it's hickeys, like, because hickeys don't fade that quickly. I just scratch my neck and then it just stays there forever. But anyways, that's totally besides the point. So another thing that I want to try and prioritize, which I've said this every year, but I think I actually have a good chance of accomplishing it this year, is to try and get back to fantasy. So in the latter half of 2020, I started doing really well with that. I started reading fantasies again, enjoying fantasies again, but then you know, Christmas, Bookmas happened, so I haven't been able to get to a lot of the ones that I have, and I have so many on my TBR because I haven't been able to read them because I wasn't really in the mood for them. So I'm planning on prioritizing fantasy, but also I don't want to burn myself out again. So my plan to avoid that is to try and alternate genres. I'm not going to force myself. I'm still going to listen to my mood and whatever I want to read, which with the TBR challenges is like why I like them, because I never really have a set TBR where I'm like checking things off. I just kind of set a list of books, like I think I might read these soon, and I like doing that. That works for me. But I think I'm going to listen to myself, and if I've read like 3 fantasies in a row, then I know that it's time to switch to contemporary so I don't completely burn myself out and not want to read fantasies anymore, because there are just so many out there and so many great ones that I have left behind because it hasn't been something I've really been wanting to pick up. As far as videos go, actually, because I also wanted to talk about that. So I think I have been doing 3 videos a week for a very long time now, but I have been, admittedly, and with Bookmas as well, I have been kind of overworking myself, which I'm sure you guys know if you watch, you know, any of my vlogs or you see on Instagram. But that's kind of what I do when I'm stressed, is I just like throw myself into work. But I want to get back into writing, and I want to do that this year because I've been, you know, I've had an interesting relationship with it this past year. I just wasn't able to focus on anything, but I have a really great idea for a book that I want to write, a rom-com. So I want to focus on outlining that more and be able to get to that. But unfortunately, that means that I'm probably not going to be able to do 3 videos a week. So I think I might go down to 2, but I'm also not sure yet, because the 3rd video, the one that would be going, would probably be the vlog. So I think I would probably not do weekly reading vlogs and instead just do like 2 random videos every week. I'm not entirely sure what my decision is on that, but I do know that like there will be changes coming, because I mean, I'm always exhausted. With Bookmas especially, like I'm glad that I'm getting everything done early for it, but the other thing with that is like I'm able to enjoy Christmas at least, but I also have been working like 8 a.m. to 3 a.m., which is not, you know, that's not great. So sleep has been a thing of the past lately. So I want to try and like manage my workload and see if I am able to do 2 videos a week, and that will be okay. I haven't made any solid decisions with that, but that's just kind of where I'm at. Speaking of videos though, if you have any ideas or anything you would like to see from me in 2021, please comment it down below, because I would love to have a plan for going into the new year. I do kind of have January planned out. I am supposed to have a video go up in a couple of days, my January TBR, but I might save that for next Wednesday. It's supposed to go up on Saturday, but I might save that. We'll see if I end up filming something like later in December, but as of now, I plan on just resting. I'm trying to think if I had any other resolutions or anything that I wanted to talk about, but I don't think I really had anything else to share with you. I feel like I probably will be editing this and think of things, so maybe I'll pop in and tell you, but yeah, I'm pretty sure that was everything. Like, I'm planning on just going into the year kind of casually and having goals for myself set in mind, because that does really help me to motivate me, but I don't want to put a lot of pressure on myself. I want to kind of like relax and, you know, work on my mental health a little bit more, because that definitely needs working on. So that's the plan. But I did have a fabulous reading year in 2020. So I'm hoping that I can keep that up in 2021. I'm hoping to continue to also read more diversely. That has been something that I've really been working on, because I don't want to just be reading books about people who look like me. I want to be reading books about everyone who is out there in the world. And that's something that I worked on this past year, and something that I definitely plan on carrying forward and paying attention to. But let's just get into the books that I have here, because there are quite a few. So first of all, I only picked up one, but the Twisted Tales series by various authors, the Disney Twisted Tales series, which takes different Disney fairy tales and just twists them, answers a question. This one is the Alice in Wonderland one. I've been talking about doing a readathon for them for so long, and I haven't done it yet, but I will for sure be doing it this year. I will just be doing like an informal thing, so I'll announce it on Instagram. I'll let you guys know when I'm going to be doing it if you wanted to join me, but I'm not sure when. So I will look more into it in the new year and see when works for me to do that week-long readathon, because I have so many of them. I just wanted to pick up one, but like I've got a bunch and really want to read them. Next is Graceling by Kristin Cashore. This is an iconic YA fantasy that I have had and meant to read for a while now and just haven't. I included in a lot of TBRs this past year, and there also is a new book coming out in the series, so it seems like it's time for me to read it. Speaking of books that I have talked about reading forever, Carry On by Rainbow Rowell, I still haven't read. I've tried to read this numerous times, and I don't know why I don't just like give up on it and give it away, but I won't, and I don't understand it. So I will try to give this one last chance, and then like I actually am going to make a decision, okay? I need to make a decision about it. But I've tried a couple of times, listened to the audiobook and physically, and I literally got to like probably at least 300 pages in, or 250 pages. So I got far into it. And that, like, why, I don't know why I still have this here, but point is, next year it needs to be done. Next is Uprooted by Naomi Novik. I now have another book by this author, so I think it's time that I finally read this first book that I have had for so long. Heard nothing but good things about. A lot of you guys have said that it seems like something I would love, so I hope that I actually will, and I hope that I will actually be able to read it. This is a fantasy that has definitely suffered from me not really wanting to pick up fantasy. Similarly, Spin the Dawn by Elizabeth Lim. I have talked about this book so much. I was like so excited for it when it was coming out, and it must be like 2018 now. Oh, I started it at one point. I got to page 12. We're thriving out here. I thought the concept just sounded absolutely amazing and fantastic. And okay, so it was 2019, but I talked about like how I was so excited for it, and I really was. But then once I got it, I just never actually picked it up. And once again, I think kind of suffered from me not wanting to pick up fantasy, so definitely one that I want to try and prioritize. I'm embarrassed to include this book here again, but like at this point, I think it's been 3 or 4 years now, so it's just kind of a staple on this list. But that's The Handmaid's Tale by, who's it by? Margaret Atwood. I just had a blanking moment as a Canadian. I've met her. This is personalized and signed to me. but I haven't read it. So yeah, doing great. But I want to read it, and I did have intentions to read it this past year. Like, I did a whole video when quarantine started about books that I might finally read because it's quarantine, and like Carry On was also in that video. Like, there were so many books, and I don't know how many I actually read, but it was still a really fun video to do. So this book was definitely on there, and I just, so much is happening in the world that I'm like, do I want to pick this up? But I really do. For sure, also included in that video was Mistborn by Brandon Sanderson. I started this book, okay, and it was right when COVID started, so then I was like, I can't read a big beefy fantasy right now. That is not what I can focus on. Like, I literally distinctly remember the week that everything shut down, my sister was supposed to come and visit from the States, and I was like, oh, I don't know if she's gonna be able to visit now. So I was like, oh, I'll start this then. And then it just like, it was chaos. So yeah, this has been neglected, but whew, this year, man, really want to do it. I also have 2 sequels here. So The Last of August and The Case for Jamie by Brittany Cavallaro. These are the next 2 books in the Charlotte Holmes series. So I've read the first book, but haven't really ever had the desire to pick up the other 2. I kind of think I need to do like another shelf clean out and go through, see what I'm not really feeling anymore. But I think that I do want to read these eventually. I just haven't been in the mood for them. Next is The Reluctant Queen by Beth Durst. I also have the sequel to this one, The Queen of Sorrow. So these are the next 2 books of the Queens of Renthia series, which I super enjoyed. I think it's pretty underrated, and I can't explain to you why I haven't. Actually, no, it's because it's a fantasy, but it's also tall, and it's also adult, and I know it's going to take a lot out of me to read it, so that's why I haven't. Call Down the Hawk by Maggie Stiefvater had to find its way to this list because it's been out for a while now, and I was excited for it, and just didn't pick it up. And I also pre-ordered the sequel, so before that comes out, I gotta read this. Next is Timekeeper by Tara Sim. I've had this book forever, like literally forever, and it sounds so cool. It's an alternate history. That's another thing, actually. I want to continue to read more historical fiction because I've been enjoying it so much, and I have a lot that I'm behind on, so want to prioritize that as well. But this one is in Victorian London that is controlled by clock towers. So how cool is that? Next is The Starless Sea by Erin Morgenstern. This is another one that I've started. I started the audiobook and kind of gave up on it, so I think I want to try physically reading it. This one is on here as well as like The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, Deadly Education. Those 3 are kind of like the adult fantasies that I definitely want to try and get to early in the year. Next is another sequel, and that is The Crown's Fate by Evelyn Skye. I read The Crown's Game, oh my gosh, it has to be like 3 or 4 years ago now, but I liked it a lot, so I was like, I'll pick up the sequel. But it took me a long time to actually buy it, and so long that I've forgotten what has happened in the first book, but I don't want to reread it because I don't really have time. So I don't know when I will actually get the chance to get to this one, but like, I really need to just do a week-long readathon where I just prioritize sequels. Next is Aurora Rising. Aurora Burning is the second book of this, but it's by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff, the authors of the Illuminae series, and this is their newest sci-fi. I tried the audiobook for this one. It wasn't really meshing with me, so I think it's another one that I need to try and physically read. I've heard some really great things about it, definitely not as much as Illuminae, so I think I'm kind of skeptical going into it, which is part of my hesitation. Next is Finale by Stephanie Garber. This is the final book of the Carval series that, nope, still haven't finished it. Yeah, I have a problem. Next is We Hunt the Flame by Hafsa Faisal. This is definitely a book that has suffered from me not wanting to pick up fantasy, so it is one that I want to try and read. I don't know why in this video I keep on opening the books like I'm going to read them right now. Wow, this has really small font, but anyways, I think that it sounds like a fun fantasy for me to get to. Next is A Reaper at the Gates by Sabaa Tahir. It's embarrassing that I haven't read this book yet, but I don't remember anything from the past books. Now the final book is out, so I really need to get my shit together. Next is The Queen of Nothing by Holly Black. Also The Wicked King, actually. I forgot that I haven't even read that one. That is the second book. These are the sequels to The Cruel Prince, which I didn't love as much as everyone else, but like I did love it enough to get the sequel, so I should read them. And finally, this one. Kingdom of Ash by Sarah J. Maas. I have not read yet. Also Crescent City, but that came out this year. But I can't believe I haven't read this yet, but I have no clue what happened in this series. My memory is terrible, terrible. But now there's a new A Court of Thorns and Roses book that's coming out. So I need to get caught up on this one so that I can read that one. They're not connected, but like it would be ridiculous if I read that one before I read this one. Why haven't I read this? Okay, so that is all for my 2021 TBR. We shall see if I actually read any or if this will be doomed like my 2020 TBR for me to not read any of these books. But I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Thank you so much for watching. Please let me know what is your, what your resolutions are, bookish or otherwise, for 2021, as well as the books that are on your TBR, because I would love to know. So I hope you guys enjoyed Bookmas. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm filming the last video. Like, this is the biggest I've ever done Bookmas before, and I didn't realize until I lost a bunch of videos and I was like, I don't know why I feel so behind, but because I've never actually done 31 videos before. The most I had ever done was 24. So you wouldn't think that those extra, like, I don't know, I can't do math, 7 or whatever, 6 or 7 videos wouldn't add that much, but wow, they made a difference. So I hope that it was worth it for you guys. I hope that it helped you take your mind off of things, and I hope you have a good 2021. I hope that the year is going to be a lot better than 2020. I hope it will be just a new start. I know it's not like a magical cure-all, but I think we can all agree that it's going to be nice to at least have a fresh start, a fresh year full of possibilities. So I hope that, yeah, you guys have a good 2021 and you enjoyed Bookmas, and I will see you very soon, possibly on Saturday, maybe on Wednesday, with my January TBR. So don't forget to subscribe, because I will still be putting out content regularly, either 2 to 3 days a week, still trying to figure that out. But you can also turn on your notifications so you will be notified whenever I post new videos. So thank you so much for watching. Thank you for joining me for these past 31 days. I so appreciate you taking the time to watch these videos, and I will see you in my next video soon. Bye!